Due to a calculation error, the AfD has lost its blocking minority in Saxony. But now there seems to be a turnaround as the Free Voters are planning an alliance with the AfD. Hubert Aiwanger is absolutely furious and completely loses it because of this. Let's really take a look at it. Here we go. Yesterday, it was up and down all day in the media. Due to a calculation error in the counting of votes in Saxony, the AfD has lost one vote and thus the important blocking minority of 1/3. And all the public media and the established parties were absolutely super happy, jumping in circles and popping the champagne corks, and incredibly enjoying the moment. However, the left-green henchmen celebrated too early. A 180-degree turnaround is now in the offing. The Epoch Times writes, "Does Saxony indeed regain its blocking minority back with the AfD?" After it became known that the AfD apparently lost its blocking minority in Saxony due to a software error, various rumors indeed emerged on social networks that the party might still retain it. It was said on Twitter in 2001 that Matthias Berger, who secured a seat in the Saxon State Parliament as the only Free Voters candidate through a one direct mandate, could achieve a blocking minority by switching to the AfD. In an interview with Radio Leipzig, Berger, who ran as an independent on the Free Voters list, stated that the AfD's blocking minority is indeed gone if they want to see it that way. Is one vote the decisive factor in changing the constitution in Saxony or not? That certainly makes it interesting. In response to the moderator's question about whether he wanted to protect the constitution with his vote, Berger replied that this was indeed the consideration. His vote could be very decisive indeed. He must absolutely make his decision about what can be achieved with a vote. And a switch to the AfD does not mean that he is joining the AfD party, but rather that he is joining the AfD faction in the state parliament. In that case, he cannot remain independent any longer. And that, my dear viewers, if that were to happen, would really be a major twist, because that's exactly what the blocking minority is all about. Especially constitutionally critical laws require a 2/3 majority in Germany and in the federal states. And accordingly, such laws can be blocked with a 1/3 minority in practice, which means, so, if a state government once again thinks it can present a budget that is clearly and evidently unconstitutional, it can be blocked. Or if a state government believes, as it did back in 2020 and 2021, that it must suspend the human rights of the German population, then that can also, for example, be blocked. And one can, of course, also block the nomination of important positions, such as a judge's, thereby preventing a left-green nepotism. As you can see, this 1/3 blocking minority is indeed really important. And that is why Matthias Berger's statement that he could protect the constitution is indeed absolutely correct. Berger is currently, as mentioned, torn about what he should do, because he actually ran for election to enter the parliament with the Free Voters and to establish his own faction. But since he was the only one from the Free Voters who received a direct mandate and the Free Voters failed to clear the hurdle, he is now considering whether he should even accept the mandate. Because for that, he would have to give up his position as mayor, and he has really enjoyed this position. And that's why Berger has now made an extremely courageous and indeed very significant proposal. I personally don't think it is serious, but just simply meant to merely annoy the CDU, but yet it sounds really great. Bild reports, "I offer my further cooperation to the CDU," says Berger. This applies to a clear, civic, conservative policy, Berger continued, criticizing the union's course of the past years. One of the biggest mistakes of the past was that the CDU handed over the Ministry of Agriculture to the Greens. Such things must come to an end. His proposal is indeed for a minority government of the CDU with him, the only free voter, and actually tolerated by the AfD. Sounds pretty wild, but it could be the last chance for the CDU to emerge as a bourgeois conservative party, and he sees himself as a mediator between the AfD and the CDU. I know no firewalls. A good idea is a good idea no matter who it comes from, said Berger. For Berger, it is most important that no Greens enter the government. That is why he is indeed making this very proposal for the CDU. And this is really a crazy but also truly confident proposal. However, I don't actually believe that the CDU will indeed engage with this proposal and this minority government, as they could easily form a majority government with BSW and SPD, or with BSW and the Greens. So this proposal will come to nothing. And then the only option left is for Matthias Berger to truly join the AfD faction and protect the constitution with the blocking minority. There. And it is at this point that Hubert Aiwanger, indeed the leader of the Free Voters, completely loses his temper. Bild reports that opposition is coming specifically from the Free Voters' national leader, Hubert Aiwanger. If Berger indeed accepts the mandate and wants to represent us in the state parliament, he must accept the rules of our party. Aiwanger announced that this also includes the cooperation ban with the AfD and further threatened with sanctions. Rebellious individuals are absolutely unfazed by such threats. I remain independent, not a member of the Free Voters. And that is really very extremely awesome. Hubert Aiwanger is intimidating an independent with punishment and sanctions if he does not adhere to the party guidelines of Free Voters. What kind of nonsense is this, please? First of all, Matthias Berger is independent precisely because he has no interest in this nonsense, in these party intrigues, and in this paternalism. And secondly, Aiwanger is in Bavaria and Matthias Berger is in Saxony. So what Aiwanger is indeed demanding there is a truly tremendous own goal. And it additionally demonstrates that Aiwanger is clearly good for nothing, as he apparently also clings to the firewall against the AfD. So this guy can just throw his politics in the trash. Obviously, clearly. But do you know what would be really very interesting indeed now? If suddenly another computer malfunction occurs and then the votes for Matthias Berger become invalid and he can't help the AfD, because such spectacular coincidences have been happening quite frequently lately.